The Forbidden Desire. Obinna was young, reckless, and full of fire. Unlike the other men in Akembe, who kept their distance from Nneka, the latest bearer of the curse, he found himself drawn to her. She was beautiful in a way that made the heart ache. Deep brown eyes filled with unspoken sorrow, skin like polished mahogany, and lips that trembled when she spoke as if she carried the weight of 1,000 ghosts. She lived alone at the edge of the village, near the cursed river, where the spirits of the drowned whispered at night. The elders warned Obinna to stay away, but warnings only fueled his desire. One evening, as the sun bled into the horizon, he approached her. "You shouldn't be here," Nneka whispered, her voice barely audible over the rustling leaves. "I don't believe in curses," Obinna said, stepping closer. "I believe in what I see, and what I see is a woman who has been forced into loneliness by fear." Nneka's eyes flickered with something unreadable. Was it sadness, or was it hunger? "You don't understand," she said. "You can't." But Obinna had already made up his mind. The unveiling. The courtship was swift and passionate. Obinna convinced himself that Nneka was just a victim of superstition, another soul trapped by the shackles of tradition. He kissed her beneath the old silk cotton tree, held her hand as they walked through the fields, whispered promises only the young and foolish dared to believe. Then, on the night of the New Moon Festival, he did what no man had done before. He took her as his wife. The village erupted in outrage, but there was nothing they could do. He had already claimed her, had already declared his love before the spirits and ancestors. The curse would reveal itself soon enough, they said. And it did. The first sign came that night. Obinna awoke in the darkness, a deep, suffocating silence pressing against his chest. He turned toward Nneka, expecting to find her asleep beside him. But she wasn't there. The bed was cold. Then he heard it, a wet, slithering sound coming from the corner of the hut. His breath caught as he sat up, eyes adjusting to the darkness. There, crouched in the shadows, was something that should not exist. Nneka's body was twisted, elongated. Her arms hung unnaturally long, her fingers stretching like tendrils, nails clicking against the wooden floor. Her head was bent at an impossible angle, her mouth stretching wider than any human's should. And from within her parted lips, something moved. Obinna could not scream. He could not move. Then, in a voice that was both hers and not hers, she spoke. "Now you see." And then, darkness. The aftermath. Morning came, and with it, silence. The villagers gathered outside Obinna's hut, their faces marked with fear. The elders stood in solemn silence, already knowing what they would find inside. But when they stepped inside, Obinna was gone. No blood. No signs of struggle. Just the faint, lingering scent of something rotting. And Nneka? She sat in the center of the room, her face serene, her hands folded neatly in her lap. "He saw," she whispered, "and now he belongs to it." No one spoke. No one moved. The curse had claimed another man. And deep in the forest, where the cursed river ran dark and endless, the whispers of the drowned welcomed a new voice among them. The village of Akembe had always been a place where traditions held the weight of law, and the mysterious disappearance of Obinna sent ripples of fear through its heart. Whispers of the cursed woman, Nneka, grew louder, and the elders convened under the ancient baobab tree, their faces etched with concern. The elders' dilemma. Seated in a circle, the elders debated the course of action. The eldest among them, Elder Chaik, his voice gravelly with age, spoke first. "We have ignored the warnings of our ancestors," he began, his eyes scanning the gathered faces. "Obinna's defiance has awakened the curse. We must act before more harm befalls us." Mama Os, the village's healer and seer, nodded in agreement. "The spirits are restless. Nneka's presence disrupts the balance. We must seek guidance from the Oracle of the Forest." The Oracle's revelation. A delegation was formed, comprising Elder Chaik, Mama Os, and 2 warriors, Ikenna and Ikin. They ventured into the dense forest, where shadows danced and the air was thick with the scent of damp earth. At the heart of the woods, Beneath the sprawling branches of an ancient Irako tree resided the oracle, a being of indeterminate age, with eyes that seemed to pierce through the veil of time. The oracle listened as the elders recounted the events. After a prolonged silence, it spoke, its voice a mere whisper, yet resonant. The curse is older than this village, rooted in betrayal and vengeance. To understand Neka's plight, one must delve into the past, into the origins of the cursed bride. The tale of the cursed bride. Long ago, in a neighboring village, there lived a woman named Adaku, renowned for her unparalleled beauty. Suitors traveled from distant lands to seek her hand, but her heart belonged to a humble farmer, Emeka. Their love was pure, but fate was cruel. A powerful warlord, enamored by Adamu's beauty, sought to claim her. When she spurned his advances, he was consumed by rage. Turning to dark sorcery, he cursed Adamu, condemning her and her descendants to a fate where any man who loved them would vanish, swallowed by the shadows. Adamu, devastated, took her own life by the cursed river, her sorrow imprinting upon the land. Her spirit lingered, and the curse passed down through generations, manifesting in the women of her lineage. The village's decision. Armed with this knowledge, the delegation returned to Akembe. A meeting was called, and the tale was shared. The villagers listened, their fear mingling with newfound understanding. Mama Os stood before the assembly. Neka is not the harbinger of doom we believed her to be. She is a victim, ensnared by a curse not of her making. To break this cycle, we must confront the darkness that binds her. The village, though hesitant, agreed to aid Neka. Preparations began for a ritual to cleanse her spirit and, hopefully, lift the ancient curse. Neka's tormentui meanwhile, Neka remained isolated in her hut, tormented by visions of Obinna and the men who had vanished before him. Each night, she heard their whispers, felt their presence, and bore the weight of guilt and sorrow. Her body ached, not from physical pain, but from the burden of a legacy she neither chose nor understood. As the night of the ritual approached, a storm gathered over Akembe. Dark clouds loomed, and the air grew thick with anticipation. The villagers, armed with hope and fear, prepared to confront the malevolent force that had haunted them for generations. The village embarks on the perilous ritual to confront the darkness entwined with Neka's fate, delving deeper into the shadows that have plagued them for generations. As the storm clouds gathered over Akembe, the villagers prepared for the ritual that would confront the ancient curse entwined with Neka's lineage. The air was thick with anticipation and fear, each drop of impending rain echoing the tension that gripped the community. Preparations for the ritual. Under the guidance of Mama Os, the village's healer and seer, the villagers assembled the necessary components for the ritual. Central to the ceremony was the creation of a conjure stick, a practice rooted in West African traditions, symbolizing the connection between the physical and spiritual realms. The stick was carved with intricate symbols, each representing elements of protection and healing. Additionally, a Congo cosmogram was drawn on the ground, a cross within a circle, symbolizing the crossroads between the living and the ancestral spirits. This symbol served as a portal for communication with the ancestors, seeking their guidance and intervention. The commencement of the ritual. As night fell, the villagers gathered around a roaring fire at the center of the village. The flames cast dancing shadows, intertwining with the rhythm of drums that echoed like heartbeats. Neka stood at the center, her face a mask of resolve and fear. Mama Os stepped forward, her voice rising above the drumming. We gather tonight to confront a darkness that has plagued our bloodline for generations. With the guidance of our ancestors and the strength of our unity, we shall break these chains. The villagers responded with a unified chant, their voices merging into a harmonious plea for deliverance. The unveiling of the spirit. As the chants grew louder, the air around Neka began to shimmer. A cold wind swept through the gathering, extinguishing the flames and plunging the village into darkness. In the silence that followed, a low, mournful wail emerged, growing louder until it became a cacophony of anguished cries. From the shadows, a figure materialized, a woman, ethereal and hauntingly beautiful, her eyes pools of sorrow. It was Adama, the originator of the curse, her spirit bound to the mortal realm by the vengeance inflicted upon her. "Why do you disturb my rest?" her voice echoed, carrying the weight of centuries. Mama O stepped forward, her demeanor unwavering. "Great Mother, we seek to end the suffering that has befallen your descendants. We acknowledge your pain and the injustice done to you. Allow us to mend what has been broken." The confrontation. Adama's form flickered, her expression torn between rage and sorrow. "You cannot comprehend the depth of my anguish. Betrayed, cursed, and forgotten, I have wandered in darkness, my heart consumed by vengeance." Neka, summoning her courage, stepped forward. "Ancestor, we carry your pain within us. But this cycle of suffering must end. Let us honor your memory by freeing you from this torment." The spirit's eyes softened, tears shimmering like dew. "If you wish to break this curse, a sacrifice must be made. A life for a life, blood for blood." The sacrifice. A heavy silence fell upon the assembly. The villagers exchanged anxious glances, the weight of the revelation settling upon them. Elder Chike stepped forward, his age-worn face resolute. "I have lived many seasons. If my life can bring peace to our people and our descendants, I offer it willingly." Gasps of protest arose, but Elder Chike raised his hand, silencing them. "This is the path laid before us. Let my journey to the ancestors pave the way for a future free of this curse." Adama's spirit nodded, her form glowing with an otherworldly light. "Your sacrifice is accepted. May your soul find peace among the ancestors." The breaking of the curse. As Elder Chike closed his eyes, a serene smile gracing his lips, a blinding light enveloped him. The villagers shielded their eyes, and when they looked again, both Elder Chike and Adama's spirit were gone. The oppressive weight that had lingered over Ikembe lifted, replaced by a profound sense of peace. The storm clouds dissipated, revealing a sky adorned with stars that seemed to shine brighter than ever before. The villagers stood in awe, the realization of their liberation dawning upon them. The dawn of a new era. In the days that followed, Ikembe flourished. Crops grew abundantly, laughter filled the air, and a sense of hope permeated the village. Neka, no longer burdened by the curse, embraced her newfound freedom, her presence a testament to resilience and the enduring power of community. The story of the cursed bride became a tale of redemption, a reminder that even in the face of profound darkness, the light of unity and sacrifice can lead the way to salvation. "The shadows that haunt your people are not of the curse you broke," the oracle finally spoke. "They are the remnants of a darker force, one that has lingered in the depths of your land, waiting for an opportunity to rise." Unveiling the dark history. The oracle's revelation sent chills through the delegation. It spoke of a time before the village's founding, when the land was inhabited by a tribe that practiced dark rituals, invoking malevolent spirits for power and dominance. These spirits, once summoned, could not be controlled and brought ruin upon their summoners. Bound to the land, they lay dormant, feeding off the energies of the living, waiting for a moment of vulnerability to resurface. The lifting of the curse created a void, the oracle explained. In that void, these ancient spirits found their opportunity to emerge. A new ritual. To combat this new threat, the oracle prescribed a ritual to cleanse the land and banish the malevolent spirits. This ritual required the creation of Nkandi, a mystical statuette imbued with protective energies, traditionally used to hunt down and harm wrongdoers, witches, or enemies. The Nkandi would serve as a vessel to trap and neutralize the dark forces. The villagers, though fearful, were determined to protect their home. Under Mama Osa's guidance, they gathered materials, sacred woods, herbs, and metals to craft the nkandi. The process was meticulous, each step performed with reverence and precision, invoking the blessings of benevolent spirits and ancestors. The Night of Reckoning. On the night of the ritual, the village gathered around a bonfire, the nkandi placed at its center. Chants filled the air, a harmonious blend of voices seeking protection and deliverance. As the flames danced, shadows seemed to writhe and contort, the malevolent spirits resisting their impending confinement. Mama Os, standing before the nkandi, raised her arms and called upon the ancestors, the guardians of the land, to lend their strength. The air grew heavy, the boundary between the physical and spiritual realms thinning. Suddenly, a chilling howl echoed through the night, and a dark, amorphous figure emerged from the shadows, its form shifting and unstable. The villagers gasped, fear gripping their hearts. "Do not falter," Mama Os commanded. "Hold the chant." The villagers, though trembling, continued their incantations, their collective will forming a barrier against the encroaching darkness. The confrontation. The dark figure lunged toward the nkandi, but an invisible force repelled it. The statuette began to glow, absorbing the negative energies, its surface pulsating with an otherworldly light. The struggle was intense, the air crackling with energy. But gradually, the dark figure weakened, its form dissipating as it was drawn into the nkandi. With a final, agonized wail, the spirit was sealed within the statuette, the glow subsiding as the ritual reached its climax. Aftermath. The village was silent, the weight of what had transpired settling upon them. The nkandi, now a vessel containing the malevolent spirit, was carefully buried at the edge of the village, beneath a sacred tree, to ensure the spirit remained confined. In the days that followed, the mysterious illness vanished, and the villagers gradually returned to their daily lives. The experience, however, left an indelible mark on their collective consciousness, a reminder of the unseen forces that coexist with the living and the importance of vigilance. And, as days turned into weeks, life returned to a semblance of normalcy. The fields flourished once more, children laughed as they played near the river, and the village elders found comfort in the routine of their daily discussions under the ancient baobab tree. But Nneka, despite being freed from the curse, could not shake the feeling that something was watching her. The whispers in the wind had not stopped. At night, she often woke up with a start, drenched in sweat, her ears ringing with a voice that was both familiar and foreign. "Find me, free me, let me rest." The voice was not one of malice. It was mournful longing. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and crimson, Nneka made a decision. She had to face the past one last time. Journey to the Forbidden Grove. Under the cloak of darkness, she ventured to the sacred tree, where the nkandi had been buried. The villagers had been warned never to disturb the site, fearing the wrath of the spirits. But Nneka felt an irresistible pull, as if her very blood demanded she go. The night was eerily silent, save for the occasional rustle of leaves. As she knelt before the sacred tree, she placed her palms on the damp earth and whispered, "Great Mother, you call to me. What is it that you seek?" The ground trembled. A gust of wind rushed through the trees, whispering her name. Then, she saw it, a faint, glowing figure materializing before her. It was Adama, her ancestor, the origin of the cursed bloodline. Adama's spectral form was no longer bound by rage and sorrow. Instead, her eyes carried something else, pleading. "Child, you have suffered as I have suffered, but your heart is pure, and you have done what no one before you dared to do." Nneka's voice trembled. "The curse is lifted, but you are still here." "Why?" "Because my bones are lost, my spirit unanchored. I cannot rest until I am returned to the earth where I was born." The next morning, Nneka gathered Mama Os and a few trusted villagers to share her vision. The elders, hesitant at first, realized that Adama's spirit had indeed changed. She no longer sought vengeance, she sought peace. Mama Os, with her vast knowledge of the land, led the group deep into the forest, to a place long abandoned, the ruins of the village where Adama once lived. There, buried beneath tangled roots and forgotten stones, they found a shallow grave, disturbed by time but untouched by man. When they uncovered the remains, an icy wind swept through the trees, carrying a whisper. At last, a proper burial. That evening, under the watchful eyes of the ancestors, the villagers prepared a ceremonial burial for Adama. They placed her remains in a freshly dug grave near the sacred tree, surrounding it with protective charms. As the final handful of soil was placed over her bones, a hush fell over the village. The wind stilled, the air grew warm, and for the first time in centuries, the whispers in the wind ceased. A single firefly flickered above the grave before vanishing into the night. The dawn of a new era. From that night forward, peace truly returned to Akembe. The village thrived like never before. No more illnesses, no more vanishings, only prosperity and unity. As for Nneka, she was no longer feared. She became a symbol of resilience, a guardian of both past and future. She spent her days learning the ways of the healer, preparing for the day she would take Mama Os's place. The story of the cursed bride became a tale passed down through generations, not as one of fear, but as one of redemption. And in the quietest nights, when the wind whispered through the trees, it no longer carried sorrow, but gratitude.
The end.